Hey there, and welcome back. In this chapter, we're going to cover all the steps needed so that you can start using Google Sheets. First things first, you're going to need to either sign up or sign in to Google Drive in order to access Google Sheets. To provide some context for those of you who are not familiar, Google Drive is Google's cloud storage environment. It's a place where you can store and share all of your documents. It's something that I use both personally and professionally, and I find it to be an essential tool in my day-to-day. But it's also a portal for Google's very powerful web-based applications. One, of course, is Google Sheets, and that's the tool that we're going to be using today for all of our spreadsheeting. You'll also notice that there are many more applications that you can access. The next two most popular applications on Google Drive are by far and away Google Docs, which is a Microsoft Word competitor, and Google Slides, which is a Microsoft PowerPoint competitor. But I'm going to let you explore those and all of the rest on your own time. Okay, let's dive in and get started.
The first subject that we're going to cover is getting signed up or simply logged into Google Drive. Let's head to drive.google.com. If we have not logged in before, you're likely going to see this screen here with details on how Drive can be used for individuals, teams, and the enterprise. For now, let's simply select individual and then go to Drive. From here, you have two options. You can either sign in with an existing account, or you're going to need to create a new one. The default is to sign in with an existing account. But of course, you can see down here that you can also create an account if you don't already have one. By default, you get this Create a Google Account window. You just follow the prompts. During this process, a new Google account and email address will be created for you. Just to note, however, you do not need a Gmail account and you don't need to create a Gmail account to get going with Google Drive. You can use whatever email address you have, your school address, Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever. Just select the Use My Current Email Address link here, and it will bring you to an alternate window. Select the option that makes the most sense for your situation, and then follow the prompts. Now for me, I've already got login credentials, so I'm just going to click the Sign In Instead button, provide my credentials, and sign in. Now that we're logged in, let's discuss the 4 ways that you can work with spreadsheets in Google Drive. Quickly, they are: create a new file from a template. Number 2, create a new file from scratch. Third, import a Microsoft file and work on it natively. Now, this is a relatively new option, and I'll talk about this in just a little bit. And lastly, import a Microsoft Excel file and then convert it to a Google Sheets file. This last option is what we'll be doing for this course. And the first option I'd like to cover fairly quickly is creating a new file from a template. So click on the New button, then drop down to Google Sheets, and then slide over to the chevron, and finally select From a Template. Within this auxiliary window, you can see all sorts of free templates broken up into business categories, from work to project management to personal, and finally education. Let's scroll back up here to the top to find a good example. Let's grab the expense report because this is one that I've used personally to submit expenses for work. Simply click on it, and a copy of this report will be added to your Drive. From here, you can make any modifications to it that you'd like. It's now yours. So I think you can see how time-saving this repository of templates can be. Okay, let's go ahead and close this window and then head back into Google Drive to discuss the second option, which is perhaps the most common of the 4. That's creating a new spreadsheet from scratch. We start at the same place we did the last time. That's click on the New button. Now we drop down to Google Sheets, slide to the right, and of course this time we're going to select Blank Spreadsheet. As you can see, a new untitled blank spreadsheet is launched in an auxiliary window. Let's go ahead and give it a name, and we're done. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this window and move on to the third example. The third way in which you can work with Google Sheets is by uploading an existing Microsoft Excel file to Google Drive and then simply work on it in its native format, which is called a .xlsx file. That's the file extension. As I mentioned earlier, this is a newer feature in Google Drive. You can upload Excel documents, then work on them in their original format, and then download them without having ever had to convert them to a Google Sheet. To get started, once again, we're going to use the New button found over here in the top left. This time, we're going to drop down to File Upload. Find the Excel file that you want to upload. So, of course, you're going to need to have the file downloaded to your local computer first. Select it and simply click Open. The file will now be imported into Google Drive. Note one thing, you can see the .xlsx icon up here next to the file name. This will be the indicator that this is still in its native format. That brings us to our fourth and final option, and that is uploading a Microsoft Excel file to Google Drive, then converting it and working on it as a Google Sheets file. Since we've already uploaded a Microsoft Excel file, we just have to convert it. It's as simple as going to File, and then Save as Google Sheets. It opens the file in a new window, and now the .xlsx icon is gone, indicating that this is now a native Google Sheets file. This is the technique that we're going to be using for this course. Last note on using this technique, you will notice that you will have two files in your Google Drive environment. The original Excel file that you uploaded, and now the new Google Sheets file that you just converted. You can keep the Excel file as a backup or delete it. It's your choice.
That's all I wanted to cover in this very short introductory chapter. Getting logged in, getting authenticated to Google Drive, and then of course, understanding the 4 ways in which you can either create Google Sheets and/or work with an existing Microsoft Excel file. We'll see you in the next lecture.